everyone, and welcome to the OklaRoots YouTube channel. In today's tutorial, we're going over, what do we call it? We call this like a basics tutorial. This is going to be a super quick, easy little item you can add to any bag. Today, we're going to go over my favorite way to add a zipper pocket to any panel, exterior, lining, any bag. We're gonna go over zipper accents. Now, if you've been following along on social media, you know we've gone a little overboard with the zipper accent templates. We're really excited about these, but let me just explain what this is, okay? So when you're making a bag and you wanna create a zipper pocket in the panel, there's multiple ways to do this, very creative ways. This is my personal favorite way to do it. And in my opinion, it is the most professional looking. So you can see this would be a panel, maybe a lining panel, maybe an exterior panel. It does not matter what pattern it is, as long as you have a big enough section, you can add this zipper no matter what. I'm gonna give you some tips on how to line things up, no matter what pattern you're using. But you can see we have this really fun accent panel over surrounding our zipper. It's so easy to add. It's so much fun. We have so many different shapes and designs, and you can do a lot of different sizes. So I'm going to be showing you a lot of these today, and they're all 8-inch wide. 8-inch means the inner rectangle is 8 inches long. We also have pattern pieces, templates, SVG files for 7-inch and 6 inches, as well as multiple shapes that I'll run through real quick. You can see on the back here, this is just the zipper lining pocket. So when you open up the zipper, you have your zipper pocket. Now, the nice thing about this is that if you were gonna create a pocket that's fully enclosed, like this one is, sewn on all 3 sides, then you can do that. And if you wanted to use this as a lining pocket and maybe turn the bag out later, or use it to help you close the lining later, you can leave the bottom of this pocket open and then close it in the end. So before I go through all the different shapes and sizes, I do wanna tell you that when you're doing the zipper accent, the accent piece here, this like black piece here, it needs to be a raw edge material. Vinyl, cork, leather, any sort of material that can be left with raw edges, because we do not have a seam here. We just top stitch it over an opening and we're done with it. It is so fast, it is so easy, and it looks so good. So in Shop OklaRoots, we do have the option for you to download bundles that include the PDF and SVG files. There's also a little quick pattern that you can print out and you can walk through. We also have the option for acrylic templates, and we all know how much I love acrylic templates. We have lots of different shapes, sizes, and colors available, so make sure you go check it out. I'll have links down in the description of this video. Like I said, all the shapes I'm gonna show you right now are 8-inch zippers. But remember, the inner rectangle can be 7 or 6 inches. We have templates for all of that. So first, this is the squared one, obviously, because it's like a square. This is rounded. I'm gonna forget the names of these, I know I am. This is rounded. This is a very, very popular design. I would say out of all the shapes we sell, these two are probably the most popular shapes. Next, we have soft corners. You can see it has just like a little soft pinch on the corners here. It's a very chic look. And then we have hard corners. So this is just like soft corners, except it's more angled, just more of a triangle look. And you can see sometimes I like to use a solid vinyl for this, and sometimes I like to use a print vinyl for this. So if you have a printed vinyl, printed cork that has a lot of very small details on it, this is a fun place to add that if you don't want it to overwhelm you on the bag. So for example, if this was the exterior of a bag, maybe, I mean, I know this is iridescent vinyl is not underwhelming, but let's say, you know, you just wanted more of a basic, you know, exterior, but you really wanted to pop with something fun, but not too much. The zipper accent is a great place to put that. Okay, now let's get into some of the more fun shapes. This one is star. How fun is that? This is great for like a super glittery vinyl. This is a really fun one, especially if you're making this for like a teen or a preteen or somebody, or just somebody who loves stars and fun. Next we have bubble. So this kind of reminds me of like a cloud. This is really cute. And then we have chat, which is probably one of my favorites. It looks like a little chat bubble. This is a really fun one to add, especially if you're doing like a comic book themed bag. Think like boys, backpacks, messenger bags, things like that. I thought this was a really fun one. And then our newest designs is bow. So this could be like a bow tie, I was thinking, or like a hair bow. You can have a lot of fun with this. Somebody also mentioned it kind of looks like a dog bone. So this would be great too. If you have like a dog walking bag or something like that, you could use a white vinyl and make it a dog bone. And then we have ears, because of course we do, right? Because this is one of our most fun shapes. So if you're having a magical trip somewhere, you can use the ears one. And then this one's the most fun. I would get this, just make something with this one. I don't care if you get the acrylic template or the PDF, you gotta make something with this one. This one's fun. This is lips. This is lips, and We had a lot of fun with this on the live stream lately. Hello! This is just a fun one. I mean, this is especially great for anybody but kids. Like, kids are gonna have a lot of fun with this. It has like a Muppet feel. And like I said, we do have the 7 and 6 inch one too, so if you wanna make it smaller, the whole template is reduced. So it's not like just the window is smaller, the whole template is reduced in size by that extra inch. So these are so much fun to add to bags. They are so fast, so easy. They look so clean, and you can be really sloppy. I mean, besides the top stitching, when you're building it, you can be really sloppy. Like, there are other zipper pockets, you know, where you have to like cut the rectangle and then fold the material back and really try to get those corners, and sometimes it makes the material smaller and it kind of has a pinched look and it's not really exactly what we're looking for. This solves that problem because you can be super sloppy, and you'll see whenever I cut out this window on the main material here, I'm pretty sloppy about it, but then you just paste over it with this little zipper accent and you never even know. It looks so good. So it's my favorite way to add a zipper to any bag. So if you're new to the OklaRoots YouTube channel, please consider clicking subscribe down below. If at any point you like this video, please give it a like. Any questions, comments, shout outs, leave them down in the comments section. If there's other shapes you'd like to see, let me know. I'm having a lot of fun putting together all these shapes from simple to super fun. Let me know if there's any other shapes you'd like to see, and we'll add them to the list because they are very, very fun. I have a couple more in the works as we speak. I can't seem to stop making them. If you use any of these templates on your own makes and you want to share them on social media, please make sure you tag me. I'm OklaRoots everywhere. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm all over the place. So tag me at OklaRoots. I'd love to see what you're making with it. I'd love to see what you're doing with this. I know a lot of you guys have been getting very creative already with this by adding your own embroidery designs and building off of these. I know a lot of people have taken, especially this rounded one, as like a basic setup template, and then they've been adding onto it, just kind of hand drawing their own pieces onto it to modify it in their own way, which I love seeing. However you use it, let me know. I love seeing it. All right, guys, let's get started. All right, so when making your zipper accent pocket, you're gonna need your pattern piece that you're gonna wanna attach the zipper to. You're gonna want your template, and this can be a printable template. This can be an acrylic template. If you have an SVG and a cutting machine like a Cricut, you could have already just cut this out. I'm gonna show you how I trace it and cut it out, but if you did use the SVG, then you're already done with that part. You're also gonna want your zipper and your zipper pocket lining pieces. Now, my rule of thumb when it comes to sizing, for example, this is a template for an 8-inch opening. This is a square shape. So when I'm gonna cut my lining and my zipper, I like to cut my zipper 1 to 2 inches longer than the opening. So for this one, for example, I'm using a 10-inch long zipper. And then same thing with the lining. My lining is going to be 1 to 2 inches longer than the opening. So not longer than the entire template, just longer than the opening. So for example, if I had a 7-inch opening, I would most likely be using an 8 to 9-inch long zipper, and my lining would be 8 to 9 inches wide. It's just important that your zipper is a good amount longer than your opening, or else you're gonna have a problem with the zipper kind of coming up on the sides and it's gonna fall apart. So I have 2 cuts of my lining material, 1 zipper, my template, and my exterior material or lining material, whatever material you're gonna be putting the zipper accent on, and then I have my material for the actual zipper accent. Now I'm gonna be tracing this and cutting this out by hand, but like I said, if you have an SVG file or anything like that, you're just gonna put this on your Cricut, on your pad, and it will cut it out for you. Now when it comes to thread, needles, things like that, you're just gonna continue using whatever you're using in your current pattern, so I'm not going over all the extra stuff. I will say you'll need some double-sided tape. This is gonna be very, very handy when attaching this type of zipper, but other than that, you're just gonna use your standard sewing supplies. So the first thing I wanna do is cut out my zipper accent panel. Now you can see this is a solid, this is like a shiny mirror material. If you had a print, then acrylic templates are really helpful for that because you can actually see through them. So if you had a print where you really want to show up, you know, with like little heads peeking out or something like that, this is really useful for that. Remember, there are no seams on the zipper accent, so everything you see here will be seen in the end. None of this is going to be lost. When tracing your zipper accent, make sure you use some sort of fabric erasable marking tool. This is because the raw edges will be seen in the end. So if you're using like a Sharpie, which please don't ever use a Sharpie when you're sewing, but if you're using like a ballpoint pen, something like that, where you're like, you know, it will be seen on the back, it's gonna be seen in the end as well. So I'm using an air erasing marker for this, but I also like to use the vinyl silver ink pens, especially if I'm gonna be tracing on the right side, because I can easily just wipe that off of vinyl. So I'm just going to trace around the exterior of my template. And I'm using the square template here, so this is very easy. However, if you're using a more complicated template, like one of these two, you're gonna wanna take your time and really carefully trace around the templates, whether it's paper template or an acrylic template. And then you're also gonna trace the inside. Now, when it comes to my templates, the inner rectangle is not always in the center because it depends on the design. So you can see on the lips template here, this inner rectangle here is not really centered on the design. It's centered where I like it to go based on the look of the actual shape. So that's why it's important that you do trace the inner rectangle while you're also tracing the outer shape. Once you have that traced, just grab some scissors and carefully cut. Again, all of this will be seen in the end, so try to make sure you don't have any wonky cuts. You don't go all willy-nilly. If you're using a more complicated shape, make sure you take your time and carefully cut it. Again, with the more complicated shapes, Cricut's silhouette machines, those automatic cutting machines are going to be really useful. However, I will tell you, I've made all of my zipper accents without using any sort of cutting machine. So I have traced them and hand cut every single one of them. All right, so once I have the outer cut done, now I need to cut this inner rectangle. And this is a little bit tricky. So what I do is I'm gonna fold it in half and I'm just gonna cut right in the center of that inner rectangle. And then I'm gonna push my scissors in through that hole and I'm gonna kind of make my way over towards the left side. This is just my strategy. And I'm just gonna carefully follow that left straight line until I get to the very corner of the short edge here. And then I'm just gonna go up about 1/2 inch on the side I already cut, and I'm gonna cut a diagonal straight to the other corner, just like that. So now if I pull back everything, I have this little triangle flap here, and I can just kind of tuck my scissors against that short side and just trim it off. That's how I get a more, you know, uniform corner cut without accidentally cutting further than I mean to. So once again, I'm just going to trace along the long edge and I'm going to repeat with this other short side over here. And there you go, your zipper accent panel is now ready to be attached. Now let's talk about placement of the zipper accent panel on your lining exterior, wherever you want to put it. I always like to center it. Maybe your design has it so it's a little bit off center. However you want to do that. My big rule of thumb is that it needs to be far enough away from all of the edges. So whatever your seam allowance is, I would say take that seam allowance and add at least 1/4 inch to it. So for example, if I know I'm going to be sewing up here at a 3/8 inch seam allowance, then I'm going to add 1/4 inch to that. So then I'm going to make sure that the top edge of the accent panel, not just the window, the top edge of my accent panel is 5/8 of an inch or more away from that raw edge. You don't want this stuff to get eaten up in the seam. For example, here is the template for the ears zipper accent, and it gets very close to the sides. So this might not be a design I use on this specific pattern piece. I also like the inner rectangle, so the top of the inner rectangle here, I like that to be at least 2 inches down from the top edge of my pattern piece. Now again, it's just gonna depend on what you're sewing. Maybe you want it much farther down, maybe you want it a lot higher, but I like the inner rectangle top to be 2 inches down from the top edge of my pattern piece. And like I said, any outer part of my zipper accent has to be 1/4 inch more than the seam allowance away from all the other edges. I don't know if you can see, but I used my silver ink pen and I measured 2 inches down from the top edge and I made an 8 inch by 1/2 inch rectangle that is centered 2 inches down. That's going to be how I line up my inner rectangle of my zipper accent panel, just like that. And you can mark on this however you like because we will be cutting all that material away. You're actually going to be cutting around this rectangle in a future step, so you don't have to worry about it if it's going to be seen in the end. This is all going to be cut out. All right, so let's prep the zipper accent panel. So I like to add a little woven bag tag, totally optional, but on our templates, we do like to have little marks here to help you if you want to place them on there. So I'm going to flip over my zipper accent panel and I'm going to flip over my template so that it is wrong side up because I like it to end on the right side on the front, which means I'm going to set up my tag on the left side on the back. So I'm going to grab my marking tool, I'm going to raise up my template just a little bit and I'm going to make little marks where the notches are on my template that indicates placement. And then I'm going to get a small piece of double-sided tape. And if you have a tag that has a different image on one side or the other, remember that the side that you're going to see in the end on the front is going to go right side down. So think about that now. And I'm going to add a little piece of tape to my tag. And I'm just going to center my tag between those notches. Now, if you want it to be more towards the left or more towards the right, you can do that. I'm gonna flip this over just to make sure it looks like how I want it in the end. Yep, I can still see my image and everything, so that looks great. So I'm gonna look back at the wrong side once again of my zipper accent panel, and I'm gonna grab some double-sided tape, and I'm just gonna add double-sided tape along both the long edges. And don't add the tape too close to this inner rectangle because we will be lifting this up and cutting material away from it, not from this accent panel, but the material that we're taping this to. So you need to be able to lift it up. So I'm just going to add my tape on the bottom as well. And I like to do this one side at a time. So I'm going to remove the paper from the top long edge of my zipper accent. And I'm going to grab my panel here that has that little rectangle marked. Again, I don't think you can see, you can kind of see when I do that, but I have that 1/2 inch by 8 inch rectangle marked there. And I'm going to flip this right side up. And I'm just going to center my accent panel so that the inner rectangle is right over that marked inner rectangle. There we go. And that's how it's going to look. So now I just have to lift up the bottom edge here and remove the tape from the bottom long edge as well. And there we go. Now, if you're doing a more complicated design like this ears one here, I would suggest you add a little bit of tape underneath the, appendages, not just along the long edges here because it can move around. So you want to add tape everywhere to really hold it in place. Now make sure your woven tag is nice and tucked in and not going anywhere. And now I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to top stitch around the outside edge of the zipper accent. So whatever the outside edge is, however it is, you're going to top stitch around the outside at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I do like to back stitch at the beginning and the end. You don't have to, but I also do tie off the threads at the beginning and the end. Check the pattern if you want some more close-up pictures of what tying off the threads is. All right, so you might have noticed I put a piece of tape on the bottom of my presser foot. That's because with this shiny vinyl, my metal presser foot was just kind of getting stuck on it. Don't make things harder than they have to be. Just grab a little piece of tape and just push it on the presser foot, and it was easy peasy. So this is how it looks now. The outer edge is top stitched in place. This is how it looks on the back. Now what we want to do is cut out this inner piece here. You can use a seam ripper for this if you'd like, or you can just kind of fold this, and I'm cutting the main fabric, not the zipper accent. We're not cutting the zipper accent at all anymore. So I just cut that main material right there, and I'm going to cut along here, and then I'm going to slide the tip of my scissors underneath the edge over here. So you should have a good amount of extra space. Again, do not cut the zipper accent, just cut behind, just like that. So you can see when I lift this up, I cut behind the zipper accent. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Once again, just cutting along the center and then just sliding my scissors behind the side, just like that. Now I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to lift up one side of my main material, and I can see the back of my zipper accent panel, and I'm just going to slide my scissors like this. And I'm just going to keep cutting my main material so that I can see my zipper accent panel. I'm just cutting it out so that we have a window. It doesn't have to look good. No one's gonna see this. So if it's like all jaggedy and crazy looking, that's totally fine. You just want the window to be open. You don't have to cut a lot out for that. But you have to be careful that you don't accidentally cut your zipper accent panel. It is easy to do. Please don't do that because then you gotta start all over. And then don't leave a little corner like this that can peek through. Make sure you really lift it up and have plenty of space. I would say at least 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch away from the opening. Okay, so now when we flip this over, you see we have a nice opening here, and now all we have to do is build the zipper pocket and attach it, and we're done. All right, so building the zipper pocket is very simple. So you're gonna grab one of your zipper lining panels and lay it right side up, and then grab your zipper and lay it right side up, and line up the long edge of the zipper with the long edge or the same length edge of your zipper pocket, and clip these together. Remember, they're both right side up. Now I'm going to go to the sewing machine, and using a zipper foot, I'm going to sew along this top clipped edge at 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. Once you have that zipper panel sewn on, what you're going to do is you're going to flip the material wrong side up. So your lining material is now wrong side up, and your zipper is right side up, and you're going to press that seam. The zipper is going to stay flat. We're not pressing it down towards the zipper teeth. We're pressing the seam so it's behind the zipper tape, just like that. If you're using quilt cotton here, you just want to iron this, go for it. If you want to put a piece of double-sided tape back here, maybe your material is really thick, you can do that. My preference is actually just to finger press it. And I'm going to take this back to the sewing machine, and I'm going to base stitch right along this raw edge of my zipper tape at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and that's just gonna hold it down flat with the lining panel behind it. All right, so this is how it should look. Zipper is right side up, lining panel is wrong side up. Grab your remaining zipper lining panel and lay it right side up, and then grab your zipper and lay it right side up as well, so both right side up, and line up those long edges together and clip in place. This is just like we did on the other side with the other lining panel. And now I'm going to sew along this clipped edge at 1/4 inch seam allowance, back stitching at the beginning and the end. Once you have that sewn on, lift up that lining panel so that the lining panel you just worked on is wrong side up, zipper still right side up. And just like you did on the other side, if you pressed it with an iron, go ahead and do that. If you taped it, glued it, I'm going to once again baste stitch this on, so 1/4 of an inch away from the raw edge of the zipper tape, just basting it down to hold the panel nice and flat. Okay, so now you should have your zipper in the center, right side up, both your zipper panels wrong side up. I'm gonna grab a lighter real quick because zippers fray, and I'm going to just melt down the raw edge of my zipper tape to prevent it from fraying in the future. There we go. I have had people ask, could you just use one lining panel and like attach it on one side, attach it on the other? You can. It's going to be a little complicated because you're going to want to attach it in steps, because if you were to just take this one panel here, you know, imagine this is all one panel, it would all be attached like this, and then you try to stitch the main panel over this, you're going to end up, you're not going to have a pocket. So you have to do it in steps. I don't prefer that method. I like it like this. This is nice too, because if you're going to just close the zipper pocket, like I'm going to show you, then it's easy peasy. But if you did want to turn the bag out through this pocket, like this is a lining pocket, you could also do that, which I'll mention in just a moment. So now lay your zipper right side up and grab some double-sided tape. And we're going to add some double-sided tape right along the raw edge of the zipper tape. Make sure it is away or above, outside of that 1/4 inch stitch mark. So you don't want it to go further in towards the teeth too close, because then you'll see this tape in the end. So we're making sure it is outside the 1/4 inch stitching. There we go. All right, so now you're gonna grab your main panel that has the zipper accent, and pretty much what you're gonna do is just plop it right over it, just like that. That's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna move the zipper pull down. When my zipper closes, it's closing towards the left. So check that. When it opens towards the right. When it closes towards the left. I'm gonna take the paper off the top piece of tape, just like that. And then I'm gonna line up my zipper accent opening right over the zipper coils. Now you have a couple of goals here. First, you want the zipper coils to be centered in this inner rectangle. That shouldn't be too hard to do with a number 5 zipper. Next, you want to make sure you have about the same amount of overhang on the left and the right. If it's not exact, that's totally fine. You just need to make sure there is overhang on the left and the right of the zipper. You need some space. So if you only made your zipper 1 inch longer than this opening, it's going to be more precise. Get it figured out now. So then I'm just going to push this down on the tape. I'm going to pull up my zipper pull just like that, give it a little look. And if you find that like one side is not centered, just lift it up, move it. All right, now again, make sure your zipper pull is pulled through that opening, lift up the bottom edge of your main panel, and then take the paper off the bottom edge of your zipper tape, just like that. Fold this back down and gently just push it down onto the tape. There we go. So now it should be nice and centered all around. Double check everything, looks good, looks good. Flip this over, completely covering it. I don't see any openings for my zipper window. And now I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and I'm going to top stitch along the inner rectangle here. So just outside that inner rectangle at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I do like to back stitch at the beginning and the end. If you want to make sure you don't have any problems in the future, I suggest you back stitch over your zipper teeth. Remember, we're using a number 5 zipper tape here with plastic teeth, so you can sew over them. If you're using a metal zipper, I don't suggest making this pocket. All right, so this is how your pocket should now look. Everything is stitched in place. Your zipper is nice and secure. Make sure you check the back and everything is in place. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna turn this so that I have the zipper panel that's on the top. See how it's overhanging the top? I'm gonna flip that down so it's right sides together with the bottom zipper panel. And you'll notice that these two lining panels do not meet on the bottom. They're not supposed to. You're gonna have some excess here. So I'm just gonna grab my scissors and I'm gonna carefully slide my scissors underneath the bottom lining piece and cut away that longer lining piece so it matches up with the bottom edge of the top piece. You can see I'm not terribly precise. It's okay if it's not perfect. Now you're gonna grab your clips and we're gonna clip these two lining pieces right sides together. So you see I'm just clipping the two lining pocket pieces. I'm not clipping the main panel in any way. All right, so now we're gonna flip this right side up, and we're gonna lift up the main panel, and if it's got some tape on there, go ahead and lift this up, and try to lift that tape off of there too. You don't really wanna sew over the tape. It's just gonna cause problems. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew along these sides. So let's say you're going to leave this bottom open because you want to turn the bag out through this later. Then you're just gonna sew the sides. However, if you're like, this is not gonna be turned out through this pocket, then we're gonna sew all three of these sides, the two short edges and the bottom edge. When you lift this up, if you made your zipper tape about 2 inches wider than the opening, so for example, my zipper tape is 10 inches long, you can sew this down at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. However, if you only made your zipper tape 1 inch wider, so like a 9-inch one, you're gonna be at more of a 1/4 to 3/8 inch seam allowance. The important thing is here that we're sewing over the zipper and we're sewing the lining pieces together. So on the other side over here, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna lift this up, pulling the tape with it because I don't like to sew over that tape. And I'm gonna go to the sewing machine and starting on the right side, I'm gonna sew at a 1/2 inch seam allowance down the short edge, along the long edge, back up the other short edge, and I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. And there we go. The zipper accent panel is now done. You see we can open it. It's so cute. And the thing I love about this is that you can be kind of sloppy, you can have mistakes, and you can't tell. It's the easiest way to do one of these types of in the panel pockets. I prefer it over any other method, honestly. It is my favorite way to do a zipper. So I hope that this is really helpful for you. I hope you guys love the templates. And make sure you let me know what you guys think. All right, guys, what do you think? It's so fast, it's so easy, right? It's just such a fun little thing, and it's also a great scrap buster, because especially if you have, you have that vinyl that you just love so much, and you've only got scraps left, but you really want to make an impact on a bag with what you have left. This is a great scrap buster, because bam. Right now you're not looking at this pink vinyl, you're looking at these little hearts on that black vinyl. Isn't that fun? I love it so much. And you can see I mixed up my material all over the place. You can use the zipper accents on woven material. It doesn't have to just be on vinyl, but these zipper accents do need to be raw edge material. So that's my one big thing. Don't use quilt cotton or cotton woven for these zipper accents, please. I hope you love making these as much as I do. I hope you found this quick tutorial helpful. Like I said, if you use any of our templates and you want to share them on social media, please make sure you tag us. If you're not on social media or you just want to send me an email with what you're making, you can reach me at jessica@OklaRoots.com. I love seeing what you're making. I hope you're having a great day. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Get out there and make something. Bye, guys.